Where did everything begin with you? I know you're a native Bostonian, right?
Yes, sir.
And we won't hold that against you. I'm a native Canetian, so a lot of people hold that against me. I know what that's like.
What happens in Connecticut?
What happens? I don't know.
Yeah.
They really hold themselves high on the hog, though. They're very hoity-toity, bougie.
That should have been a dad joke.
Yeah. High on the hog?
Holding myself high on the hog.
You're also, so you started out up in Boston. You went to, let me see if I get this. Remind me again your educational background. Where did you come from?
UMass Boston.
UMass.
Yeah.
And your major was?
Leadership.
That's an actual major?
Concentration. It's business administration.
Okay.
But
so you always knew from an early age you wanted to do something in the business world.
Yes,
entrepreneurial?
Sir. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Was that from your parents at all?
No. I don't know where it came from as far as heritage or parents or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to be able to do something that was my brand behind it and have an influence.
And have control over it.
Control's nice, yeah.
I mean, that was my big driver, is that I want to be the determination or the determiner of my life.
I agree with that, especially, a lot of people after COVID feel that way now, and they didn't before. I think that was a big piece where no one had control.
Do you have a lot of conversations like that with people that have gone through COVID and that whole experience that don't really want to work for anybody anymore?
I think it comes up a lot, and I spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs and trying to help people formulate an idea into a path or progression. So it does come up a lot. And I think, with my wife specifically, she owned a business, she worked for someone, came up in our conversation 6 months ago when she started her own business again.
What is she doing?
She's a chiropractor.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And is it something she's getting back into, so she left it for a while?
So she had her own practice in Pittsburgh, moved here, didn't really know anybody, worked for a woman, and then is now starting her own practice up again. Nice. So we've got Morris Family Chiropractic. That's what it's called.
So is she finding that licensing gets transferred easily and it's reciprocal down here, that kind of thing?
Yeah. It's not as bad as from a fees perspective as it was, I think, for her in Pittsburgh.
Go figure. Yeah. Another northeastern state. So that's the commonality that you and I have, is coming from the armpit of the country that's considers themselves to be so civilized.
So civilized.
But some of the most uncivilized people in the world live there. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Boy, I'm really pissing off a lot of my northeastern kind of friends out there, but too bad. You know how you are. So from Boston, you went to UMass, got out of there, and then worked for somebody doing what? Tell me how things progressed.
Yeah. So when I was 17, I started valet parking cars for some extra cash.
It's a good job.
And ended up working for that company. They helped out with some college, graduated, from college, and then took a director role with them. Mm-hmm. Ran several states.
On valet parking?
Yeah,
wow.
So I'd do sales and set up the operation on the hospitality side. So hotels, valet, transportation, shuttles, doorman service, all that stuff.
Right.
And was just traveling a lot and didn't really like it. Didn't really like where the company was going, who my mentorship was. And as I learned more and more about them, as I kind of grew the ranks, so decided to throw my resume out there. And next thing I knew, I was being interviewed from someone from Nashville, Tennessee, and they offered me the job. And a month later, I was here in Nashville.
What time frame was that? A couple years ago?
I was in 2018. So never been to Nashville. Didn't know anybody here. Don't like country music.
Right.
Hot chicken sounded horrifying.
Chicken and waffles? Did you have that?
Yeah, we had that in Boston.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I know you have clam chowder.
Chowder.
Lobster?
Some lobster tail, baby.
Yeah. And what else up in Boston?
We got some good Italian compared to Nashville. I don't know where your spot is here, but we're missing here.
No, they got the mafia influence up in Boston pretty heavy, both from the Irish and the Italian side.
Yep.
So, I mean, I grew up mostly in the New York side of things and, Yankees and Sox, and Giants and the Pats.
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Italian food was a challenge. Looking for a good substitute, moving not only to Vegas, but Vegas especially was weird. I mean, you figured that there'd be a good alternative out there, but it took us years to find it.
Really?
Yeah, good pizza? Gosh. Better off eating cardboard with freaking ketchup on it. But getting here, where there's a place down here that makes really good pizza, but they're from, I think they're from Brooklyn. So either they're importing the dough or getting the water here different. I don't know. So
the sauce. It's all about the sauce.
The sauce and the
Gravy.
sauce. Wicked. It's wicked good. Wicked pizza.
That's it.
So you come down here. Did you have the typical Northeastern attitude towards the Southern folk? We're like,
no, I honestly came down to eyes open and arms open. I didn't really know what to expect. I think I talk a little fast compared to a lot of people and way more direct and upfront.
I would have never detected you were from Boston. So
really,
kudos. Yeah. Not that being from Boston is a bad thing. Holy crap, am I going to get myself in trouble by just spewing that? But I mean, that's nobody. I would never have guessed that you were from Boston because there's so many people here that they don't sound like they're from the South. Even some of the natives don't.
True. I can't tell.
No.
I mean, there's such a mix of dialect and tonality and, East Coast, West Coast, up, down, left, right,
It's the Californians that move here that are so judgmental. Oh my gosh. Sorry, Californians. Sorry, Cara Bajetti, who moved here from California, who's a client of mine. WorkLifeBalancePodcast.com. Check them out. She's probably going to listen to this and be like, what the hell you been bragging on Californians for? So going from there, what was the gig that you got down here?
I worked for a parking company and
Premier.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Soon realized that wasn't the best fit for myself and ethically what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. So started a company, an organic frozen beverage company.
Right.
Did that for about a year, working both, and then made the entrepreneurial jump. And right before I did that, I got my real estate license as a backup plan.
Right.
Just so in case it didn't work out.
You just knew automatically you had to have those streams of income, so to speak.
Yeah, I think for me, the way I grew up and, we didn't have money and there was problems at home. And, I was the guy that had cereal with water and not milk and, borrowed money from my older brother, if not stole change from him for lunch, things like that. Mm-hmm. So, for me, I think, always having a plan and a backup in place so I would never be in those situations again was really the mentality.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I didn't make the jump or take the risk, then I'd never be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, how do I stack this thing? Right? How do I have a backup plan and a backup plan? And I needed it because I quit the corporate job, started that business. Your first year was great. We were leading into year 2. 2 weeks later, COVID hit.
Were you married at that time too?
I was single.
Oh, so you recently got married and to a girl from Pittsburgh, but you didn't meet her up in Boston. You met her down here?
I met her here. She's from West Virginia, and I got married 6 months ago.
And you had a child.
And I had a child.
My goodness.
Yeah, last year was a good year, man.
You're just jumping into life.
I don't mess around.
That's right.
If I want
Are you even 30 yet?
I'm 33.
33, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're in the middle of the summer of your life, so to speak.
Yeah, seasonality, man.
That's right.
So
going on from here, I mean, you have the frozen drink company that's still kind of going strong, and then COVID hits. But I mean, I would imagine for a company like that, was it much of a challenge?
We sold to restaurants.
Okay, I guess so.
Our whole business model was turned upside down.
Even trying to pivot was too late.
Yeah, so I mean, we even were going to do carts and go to neighborhoods in West Haven, and we were going to do all this stuff and bring it to your door. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't going to happen from a profitability standpoint.
Oh, really?
So what do you do at that point, right? You've got a couple of things. You sit down with your partner, you talk about the future, you talk about, hey, this is our 5-year plan. How are we going to get there? We need to pivot. We need to transition. Unfortunately, my partner didn't want to do any of that.
Right.
So the next conversation was, how do I buy this from you, or how do you buy it from me? Because this isn't going to work.
Right.
So at that point it was scary because we're in the middle of COVID. I have no money coming in. I've got this thing that works. Like, this thing worked.
Yeah.
This product was good. It was wanted. We were growing it. We were doing events. We were doing restaurants. We were talking about distribution, wholesale. I mean, this thing was growing.
Yeah.
Right. We were trying to do 2 million in revenue year 2. So, we weren't aligned on the goals. So something had to change. So at that point, we're going back and forth, and he won't sell it to me. And so I'm trying to buy it. He doesn't have the money, right? We're trying to figure out creative financing and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, I got to start something else.
Yeah.
And that's when I started Impact Social Events.
During COVID.
Because no one was having events. Right. And as an entrepreneur, how do I meet people? How do I grow this business?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, problem, I can be the solution. I'm going to throw events.
Right.
And I leveraged the hospitality connections I had in the city working for Premier Parking. So they allowed me to do some stuff based on relationships I had behind the scenes, in the back room, no masks, maybe some masks. Who knows?
You don't forget about it.
The Boston way is what a lot of people actually refer to me as.
Is that
They're like,
should why don't you just call yourself that? The Boston way.
The Boston way. Yeah,
that's your nickname.
I guess I'm wheeling and dealing behind the scenes, but I just didn't really know this was going to go like this.
Well, what if we don't choose worry your pretty little head, all right? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, what if we tip 30% instead of 20?
That's right. Jim had 5 fingers, but he spoke with 3.
That's it.
Maybe you need to get some big rings and stuff like that to wear.
Just start flashing them.
That's right. Wear jogging suits with gold chains around your neck.
That's it, man.
So the event business started that way. And what a better way to promote real estate. And obviously having events, there's a lot of realtors out there. One of the guys we had here locally on was David Miller. I don't know if you know who he is. You've probably heard of Miller's Thrillers, right? Mm-hmm. He started that just as a way to promote his real estate business. But he was kind of a prolific marketer to begin with. I noticed him on billboards and bus boards, if you will, where you wait to get the bus. And he would put like upside down pictures of himself and made you look, that kind of stuff. And you would notice them. I mean, eventually you see him everywhere. You see his name, and you know he was associated with real estate and stuff like that. Then once upon a time, he started doing the Miller's Thrillers thing, and it was just purely a way to promote his real estate business. And it turned into a whole separate animal. Every year, that thing gets bigger and bigger. Like it sets him up for the entire year kind of thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I did it reverse.
Yeah. Why real estate though? Just so you can buy and sell your own investments kind of thing?
That was originally the goal.
Okay.
Yeah. That was originally the goal.
Right.
And when I bought my first house, I didn't really know what happened. I was working so much. It was like, I bought my house during the week of the NFL draft.
Right. Oh, wow. Oh, during when it was here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So think about working in hotels and hospitality that week.
Freaking madhouse.
I didn't sleep 24/7, 365. I also ran a transportation department that started at 4 a.m. and ended at 1 a.m. So, I bought a house and didn't know what happened.
Right.
It's really what occurred. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to invest. I bought some land right after that. So I'm like, okay, how can I save some money? How can I be in this space? So that was where the interest really came from.
Right.
I didn't have any inclination to sell residential real houses to other people. It was really just how can I leverage this, get some education, and invest.
Right.
And then, you sell a house to someone and it's this magical moment, right?
Yeah.
It's, wow, it was just a thought, and then it was a dream. It was a thought, it was a dream, and now it's a reality.
Now they have a place to raise their family, and a whole bunch of other things take place.
And my first client actually ended up selling her house as well, and it was just great to kind of see what she purchased, knowing what the plan was to renovate it a little bit. She did all the work herself. She did an amazing job. And then to go sell it for $140,000 16 months after.
Oh, wow.
Was crazy.
Yeah.
So that was awesome to be a part of that. So that's what I like about it. But originally it didn't start that way.
Right. It was out of just that will never, you have a trending attitude of, this will never happen to me again. that kind of trend of just how you look at life. From being entrepreneurial, I'm never going to have a life where I have to have cereal with water, and I don't know. I bought a piece of property or a house, and I have no idea what happened. So is it kind of like that? Do you think, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's one of those things where, like, no one taught me real estate. No one taught me the opportunity. No one's taught me the investment side of it, right? There's no college conversations. There's no, mentor in my life that was like, you should do this or that. There's really none of that.
Right.
So being able to dive into it, educate myself, has given me an opportunity to make large investments in plays and hopefully never have to eat cereal with water.
So you're basically taking these risks, just figuring it out as you go along, jumping into the deep end.
I would say that most of the people in my life try to talk me out of everything that I do.
Of course.
Because I'm like, I don't know it all, but I'll figure it out. And if it costs me X, then that piece of education cost me X. And once I'll never do that again. And how do I roll that into something great and keep pushing through and fighting and figuring it out?
And you're at the tail end of the time of your life where you need to do stuff like that. It's easy to recover from. You got the energy, you got the moxie, the piss and vinegar to kind of figure your way out of a hole, so to speak. Easier to do it when you're in your late 20s than in your late 30s, early 40s.
Totally.
Which is what I had to do.
And now we've got the baby, she's 2.5 months old. So, a little bit more pressure on some decisions, but with a supportive wife and, at the end of the day, it makes it a lot easier, I think, where you have a true partnership that agrees and wants to be part of those risks.
Right.
At the end of the day, I looked at her and said, do you want to marry someone like me?
Right.
This isn't going to be roses. Like, I can go get the $150,000 salary job and work corporate and be miserable.
Yeah.
Or do you want to take some risk and maybe double that? And it may make maybe a little harder, and there may be some dinner table conversations, we
Mostly
had one
couch
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. What was that about?
This event that I'm throwing, it's self-funded.
Yeah.
And when you throw a large conference like that, a lot of your ticket sales come right before the event.
Yeah.
So, that's a big decision. And as anything, that is a business in itself, right? That's a profit and loss statement. There's revenue, there's sponsorship, there's advertising, there's cost, there's operations, there's labor, there's permitting, right? Speakers, all that stuff. So, sponsorship didn't come through, which was going to feed the first half of this thing, right? One of my personal investments got pushed 11 months, was going to feed a lot of this, right? So we're having conversations about, how do we make how does this dream, this conference that I'm going to throw, because I truly believe in my heart that it's going to help a lot of people, especially if I can get 500 people in the room.
Right.
How do I stay true to that dream? How do I stay consistent with my heart with all these things saying this is going to be really hard, and what you thought you had, you don't have today anymore. So go figure it out again and go figure it out again. And the last 3 weeks have been a lot of that.
Well, that sounds like a problem, man. Let's talk about this. What are the spokes of an event, like revenue streams of an event that typically, of course you can invent them and come up with them, be creative, but what are like the typical ones? You got the ticket sales, sponsorships. What else?
Those are your two big ones.
Yeah.
Those are going to bring in your revenue. Now you can do VIP experiences and really customize and create different things,
right,
and add-ons. But your ticket sales, getting people in the door, and then your sponsorships, allowing the local businesses the opportunity to connect and market specifically to their avatar client that's in the room.
Right. And basically get a face of their business that's viewed upon, essentially.
Yeah. And we try to be unique with a lot of that stuff, right? So, I remember sponsoring a ton of stuff when I owned the frozen beverage company the first year. I'm like, I got to go meet all these people, and I got nothing out of it. Honestly, literally no business, no phone calls, no, I don't even think anybody clicked our call to action.
Right.
So we try to be unique and really what's the best opportunity for your business specifically, right? Yeah. Is this just eyeballs? Do you want to get up and talk for 5 minutes?
Awareness.
Do you want to talk about a new product? Let's analyze who's in the room and how do we, create a message that speaks to those specific people in the room.
Right.
So that's a big piece of it. And I think we take it very seriously because me personally, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars and have never gotten anything back, besides maybe a little emblem, that I take a picture, a selfie with online and is it sponsored and I got no business.
But hey, it's all pieces in the pie that add up to the whole pie over time. I mean, is it something that, even in radio, if somebody advertised for a week, well, I'm not getting, the phone's not ringing. Okay, well, give it a month. It's going to take time. You got, people are creatures of habit, and they gotta, there's a process they have to go through, the funnel,
Sure.
to get to an actual buying decision where they decide to separate with their money. And that's in the frozen drink business that you were in, to even the emergence of this event that what's the event called?
Impact 23.
Okay.
I want to impact people's lives.
Impact 23. When's the date?
October 27th.
Oh, so we got some runway.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like at the beginning of the 10X Growth Con years with Cardone, when he first did it, it was huge because he was huge to begin with. He had momentum going into it, but it wasn't as huge as it had become in the following years.
Of course.
There's definitely a flagship event that determines the rest of them. So, with that in mind, it's just a matter of making this one as best as you can within the budget you have. What kind of speakers do you have lined up, or is that not yet to be published?
We aren't publishing yet, but in the next 30 days, we're going to come out with a whole marketing and branding package and really highlight some of those different types of opportunities and experiences.
Right. Different levels of tickets and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're not going to go crazy, though. I think there's a level of return.
Yeah.
And there's a level from an education standpoint, and I think there's a level of entertainment.
Yeah.
So there'll be some opportunities for some entertainment, but we're not going to kill people on ticket prices. You're not spending $5,000 if you just are going to come to absorb and educate.
Well, you got to do the whole, typically it's $49.99 and then have to cross out and be like, just for you, it's $3.99 for the next hour. We're
going to price if I can use you in that voice, because you've already convinced me with that magnificent Jim McCarthy voice.
That's my Don.
I want to buy my own tickets now.
You remember Don Lapre?
No.
Oh my God!
It's Don Lapre.
He's the television pitchman of pitchmen. He's the one who really he was known for. You got to look him up. He's on YouTube, I'm sure. For saying, I started out in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, placing these little classified ads, and that was his thing. He ended up committing suicide in prison, but he was he was the first I don't want to say Tony Robbins, but he had a motivational, inspirational bent to him, but he was always trying to sell you something.
Of course.
Tony Robbins is there. He's got the relational legacy because he just kind of approached it that way, and everything he did just because of the relational aspect always fed all his events that he's done. The Date with Destiny and all that stuff. But he was like, back when the 80s were producing all these gurus and self-help people. Don Lapre was inspiring you to, hey, you can become your own person and be entrepreneurial, but it's based on this multi-level marketing pyramid.
It's based on paying me $9.99 for 999 years.
Exactly.
Question for you, Jim.
Yes.
Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone?
They both have their strengths. Tony Robbins for sure has got the 100,000-foot legacy of he's been doing. You can't discount what he has done. Since the 80s. It's like, B&I, as you're well aware, was started by Ivan Meisner back in the 80s out of necessity. I needed to get business. Let's start networking. Let's figure this thing out. And he became known as the father of modern networking because of the business that he built, and it became international. For somebody later down the line, and I've heard this said in a public situation, man, B&I has got nothing on me. And I'm like, yeah, it does. It's got 30 some odd years on you. You got to give that respect and give it due respect. Same thing with Tony Robbins. I like the stuff that he says. He makes a lot of sense. Cardone is actually The comparison, I think, is probably more appropriate with Tony Robbins is like in another stratosphere. And then you got like the Cardones, the Vaynerchuks, those guys, right?
Yeah.
They're in a different strata.
Where do you put Milet?
Milet's in that fraternity as well. Milet is very, in my opinion, I've never met the man, relational. I think he's very genuine. I think he's very authentic, intentional, and well-meaning. Cardone is obviously just all about the transaction. But there's relational aspects of him too, because he just tells it like it is and what's worked for him. He's willing to tell. I've had him on podcasts before, and he's willing to say that, no, look, everything that I do doesn't work for everybody.
Of course.
And he's okay with putting that out there. Here's what works for me, and if you apply these principles, it could work for you. But he, every time you see him, he's always, hey, come join me on this free thing, but it's always to sell you something. Of course. There's always a transaction involved. Vaynerchuk is nothing but pure relational approach, He gives a lot of the stuff he does away, and he upset a lot of people when he gave away his marketing plan.
True.
Several years ago. He put it out, those 70 some odd pages of his plan of how the game plan his team follows. And, all these people that were trying to do what he does, but package it up and sell it as a white paper for $5,000, he upset the apple cart. He's like, screw you guys. I'll put it out there for free.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's about the long term.
Of course.
So, to answer your original question, I would say that they all have their strengths. And I think you glean from them what you need.
Of course.
So
I think too, to your point, it's, you can't really put the ball in one court because everybody has a different factor to them.
Right.
And I think it's really what resonates with you and your story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I told Cardone to his face, I said, look, I appreciate everything that you say. It's gotten me through some hard times. In the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I would get out and take a walk, and it was dark times. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make my mortgage payment? And I said, dude, I would listen to some of your podcasts, and you'd lift me right up.
Yep.
You were what I needed at that point.
Of course.
Vaynerchuk's the same way. I would say the same thing to him. I think Vaynerchuk he's more in tune with the tonality of the culture right now than most of these guys that are transactional. And I don't know. Have you noticed that Cardone's kind of gone off the radar a little bit?
Well, how many times has he been sued in the last 12 months?
I have no idea.
I think he has 2 tax court cases going on right now.
Really?
Or I think he got out of one and one just popped back up.
Yeah.
That's really the only stuff that I've seen. But you got to remember, I'm also following high-level commercial developers, real estate, right? I'm seeing it on different sites, not like from Cardone, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's all I've seen. Maybe he stopped following me around every microphone, TV, video.
I don't know.
He was everywhere for
He
some
really
time.
was.
Literally. I'm surprised I'm not getting a message right now to buy something.
He was the loudest person in the room for sure. I think Milet has certainly taken his place to some degree because it seems like Milet's everywhere now. Bradley certainly has been omnipresent, and Vaynerchuk's he's just consistent.
Yeah,
he's constant.
everywhere.
He's just a juggernaut. What about you? What is your opinion on those guys? Who's your favorite?
Tony Robbins never really sat with me as far as the whole energy thing and rah rah jumping up. Like, it's just way too culty for me. It freaks me out. I went recently. A friend invited me to an event with Milet's company, World Financial Group.
Yeah.
Same kind of weird culty thing.
Culty.
I don't like the whole rah rah. Ooh yeah. It's just it's not me.
It's your Northeastern coming out. us cynics from the Northeast.
Milet's from Massachusetts. Didn't he grow up in Massachusetts?
I think so.
I think he did.
Yeah. But he's got some mileage on his soul. So maybe he was like that at some point, but who knows?
I'd go with Cardone just because the difference in approach, I would say.
Yeah. I will say when I met him, go ahead. Sorry.
A lot of people ask me because I try to put a positive spin on stuff. Like, we were just talking right before this, and I'm like, my Facebook got hacked and all my credit cards are being charged, but everything's great. Jim, let's crush this podcast.
Yay!
Right? Yeah. So I try to put a positive spin on a lot of things. So a lot of people peg me like, oh, you must love Tony Robbins. I just don't. I don't know. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, it's never resonated with you.
Yeah.
Some people, Vaynerchuk doesn't do it for them either. He talks about a lot of different stuff, but I mean, what really hit me over the head when I saw him was like, oh, I totally get this guy. He's from my part of the country. He talks like me. He thinks like me. And he's just spouting his own truths with conviction.
True.
And when he said that, look, I will always be successful because I outwork all of you. And it's like, damn, that's bold.
That's bold.
Yeah.
You gotta be bold, especially at that level.
But
you either believe in things or you don't.
You do, but I mean, it's also it's got to be true. You got to substantiate your claim.
Of course,
right?
You can't just be spewing BS.
Right. So, with a lot of that being talked about, mentorship wise, like you said that you were kind of like me in that sense. You didn't really have too many people to consult with on certain things. You just kind of figured it out. Has that changed? Has anybody come into your life and said, you know what, let me help you out here?
It has. Yeah. I think a big piece of it too for me is allowing myself to be open.
Right.
I've hired consultants in the past. I was a consultant. I owned a consulting company during COVID. That's what got me through 3 months.
Right. What did you consult on?
Sales and business processes.
Gotcha.
Impact business solutions.
Right.
Kept the impact. But yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of it was I was a little closed off, and now I'm a little bit more open and receptive and, willing to talk through a lot of the details.
Right.
So I've got an amazing real estate focused coach. I've got a mindset coach. I've got a good friend of mine that I'd call him my finance coach because he doesn't charge me. But yeah, I mean, I think you got to surround yourself with people with different opinions or people who have been through it or people who understand the seasons like we were talking about earlier, I'm in a different season now, married, child,
You're in the midst of your summer.
It definitely feels different.
Yeah.
For sure.
It'll shift at 40. That I can guarantee. John, who you just met, he'll be 40 this year. And DC as well, who you just met as well. They'll both be 40 this year. And I told them earlier that, look, you're going to have, it is a noticeable shift over the next several years. Somebody told me this actually is from BNI. He says, just get ready for everything to start hurting. I go, great. He says, it's all downhill from here. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to look at it that way. But there is a noticeable shift. I mean, my life did change for sure.
Yeah.
Got out of radio and got into the car business and I was pretty much self-employed from 40 on.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This beautiful voice of yours.
Yeah.
How did you utilize that to your advantage in the car industry?
The car industry?
I foresee you out on a lot of thousands of beautiful Mercedes and you're just talking to the world.
In the beginning, it was with Honda. And I went in knowing that I was good with people and that I could, quote, sell. My challenge was closing because in that business, it is trying to find a way to get the deal done while they're there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to shop around and you might lose it and you squander the opportunity, so on and so forth. But in that business, it was learned for me, and I tell people this all the time, is learning the fundamentals of the road to the sale, which is, I think, fundamental for all selling.
Of course.
And then leading up to and finding your voice in that process. Similar to voiceover. What I teach in voiceover to my students is learn the fundamentals, learn the nuances, learn how to read a script, how to interpret it, learn to find out where the chunkable pieces of copy are, and then, learning those fundamentals, then finding your voice. Same thing with sales and selling. So to answer your question over time, I guess because I always talk like I'm on the radio, whenever somebody requests a conversational read from me, it's tough. Because conversational for me is this.
Yes.
I sound like I'm constantly on.
Yeah.
Right? Unless, if I'm like the alpha in the room and it's a room with other alphas, like John is a major alpha. I just sit there because I learn from him. If I go off on a tear, then I become the alpha. It's almost like we take turns.
Yeah.
But, mostly that's when I'll just kind of get a little bit more reserved in the background and pipe in with a little bit more of a, think about it this way and this, and that tonality kind of comes out of me, which maybe I need to adopt in my voiceover process. But, my first order of business, not so much at Honda, but more at Mercedes, was to bring the wall down of people when they came onto the lot. And I developed a myriad of ways to do that, mostly just trying to find a way to make them laugh. Humor just solves a lot of problems. And I would do it, by doing ridiculous stuff like explaining the door handle and the steering wheel and the turn signal and, just basic stuff. And they'd be looking at me going, are you out of your mind? And I'm like, well, if you ever want to indicate your turn, you just simply push the thing down and it goes left. And then you turn the steering wheel right there, that circular thing, to the left, and the car will go in the direction you want it to go. It's crazy. And they'd be like, are you okay? And eventually, yes, I am okay. I'm just trying to get you to relax.
Yeah.
It's okay to talk about this. Sometimes I would somebody dared me at Honda to conduct an entire interaction with a customer as Christopher Walken. Okay, challenge accepted. You sound yeah, I know, Christopher Walken. I get that all the time. So it was just fun stuff.
Yeah.
You try different stuff, but until you found your voice doing it and you had the confidence to try different things, it was crazy the stuff I tried just to close a deal. Integriously.
Yeah, of course.
So, to answer your question, that's how I use my voice in that business.
I like it.
It's certainly being a ham. There's an element to being a ham in that business. That makes you memorable. But as long as you do a business integriously, you get the referrals and things of that nature.
Your pipeline builds.
Yeah. And people to this day still reach out to me, and customers that I've had in Mercedes and Honda remember who I am. And so that says something.
Of course. Definitely.
Better to be remembered for good stuff than screwing people over.
Speaks towards your character.
Yes. So it's like finding your own voice so you can sleep at night. Is what my MO was in the beginning. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Anything else?
I'm just thinking through like all the dares back in the day that you guys probably already did.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have any other questions for you.
I like being interviewed.
Oh, I got to actually, you know what? I got a good question for you.
Okay.
And I should have the answer to this because I do have your cell phone number, but tell me what's on your voicemail, man? Like, are we going into a movie theater script? Like, are you like, hey, it's Jim McCarthy.
No.
Sorry, I missed you. Like, tell me about that, man. You must have the coolest voicemail ever. Like, that's all I can think of.
It's probably, I'm not even sure. I don't think I produced anything up. That's kind of sad to say, but the voiceover aspect of what I do was tremendous for leaving voicemails as well. Because even to this day, hey, this is Jim McCarthy with Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Just wanted to touch base with you. I just said touch base. I told people never, ever to use those words. But, hey, I got something here that I think will really pique your interest. Give me a call when you have a chance, 702-232-8859. Again, that number is 702-232-8859. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Take care. So it was literally just, on.
Makes me want to call you back.
Hopefully. It works sometimes. Sometimes it didn't.
I'm excited now,
That's the follow-up technique that I try and teach to the creatives and voiceover people.
That's it.
Just always have something. Actually, it was on our Capital One girl, whose name escapes me at the moment, Kristen Williams. She talked about following up with people. She says, well, I'm just touching base and following. And I'm like, okay, just rid yourself of those words. And she goes, why? I said, always have something for somebody.
Yeah.
I
just did it today, following up with an investor.
Yeah.
And wrote the message, deleted it, and was like, let me give some data on the market that they're looking to invest in.
Yeah.
Let me give value rather than just saying, hey, what'd you think of the 35,000 houses you saw last week? You know? Hopefully.
You got another handful that popped up that are right up your alley. Are you coming? You want to, there's one actually right around the corner from you that's got a, hot tub.
Yep.
A sauna.
Yep.
But what's the weirdest request you've had for real estate? You got to get a lot of them, I would think.
Request like from a client?
Yeah.
The weirdest request from a client was probably at 11:30 at night, asking if I could go check to see if they had Google Fiber.
Huh.
I don't know how you check to see
Right.
if someone has Google Fiber.
But somehow that's your job.
And they wanted me to go to the house. I'm like, I don't know what to look for.
Yeah.
And it's 11:30 at night. So
Well, if I cut this wire,
Yeah.
you have internet? Good. Call Google and have them repair it now.
the craziest stuff that I've seen is at showings,
Bro, really?
like sex swing above a bed.
Nice.
Just doing it.
Okay.
Not even taking it down. No, could care less.
Maybe they're trying to accomplish more than just selling the house. You never know.
Hey.
There was one time I went through a house, a friend of mine, when we first moved here, actually, and we walked past their bedroom. We were actually meeting at their house to go out downtown, and my wife and I walked past their bedroom, and there was a tripod with a camera set up pointing at the bed. I'm like, did you just see that? Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, all right.
The
They do that.
oddest one was there was ghost or there was something in the house.
Did you pick up on it?
So it was in East Nashville, old house.
Yeah.
I got there early, as I do, open the doors, make sure lights are on, look through the house, maybe see if there's anything cool to point out or any, structural issues, right? I kind of do a sweep just so I'm a little bit prepared. Upstairs, they remastered the upstairs to like the primary bedroom and full bathroom and all that. So I go up there, I'm like, oh, this is nice. They have kind of the closets on the side of the eaves of the house to where there might be storage, and they're locked with locks on them. So I'm like, oh, no big deal. Maybe they put their their valuables in there. Go back downstairs. I hear someone walking upstairs. Go upstairs. There's no one there. Go downstairs. I hear someone walking. Go upstairs. There's no one there. So I'm like, I'm out of here. So I'm like, okay, the client's here now. They're walking in the front door. She's in there for about 2. She goes, something weird about this house. Has bad juju.
Yeah.
I don't think we want it.
Yeah.
I'm like, she walked in for less than 5 minutes and could figure it out.
And just knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I didn't even tell him. I'm like locking the door as quick as I can. I get out of there. We're going to the next house. And I'm like, hey, by the way, pretty sure someone was upstairs, even though there was no one upstairs. So
I would have to bet that if you put a house like that on market and say, you know what, it's probably haunted, you'd have a lot of people clamoring to buy it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Does that happen?
I would say that's definitely a marketing.
That's a marketable trait.
Yeah. I mean, people want unique.
Yeah.
People want different.
Yeah.
Whether that's you want to be tickled in the middle of the night by ghosts or,
Not sure if it's an incubus or a succubus or if it's,
I mean, I showed a house with a graveyard in the back.
Nice.
And, the client was like, nope. And the husband was like, why? I want to buy it. I don't even need to look in it.
Yeah.
But the wife was like,
When I decide
get in
to
the
do,
car and shut up, you know?
if I ever have to do what I think I may have to do with you, the distance to just, put you away is very short. It's right in the backyard.
That's it.
Yeah. That's crazy. Getting back to your event.
Yes.
So we're thinking it's going to be in October.
October 27th.
Can we say where?
Wild Horse Saloon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Big.
So
Wow.
big venue. They'd simulcasted New Year's Eve with New York there this year in Nashville. So really excited about kind of all the logistics that come with it. We've got the whole building to the right side for VIP entrance and a mixer before the event even starts. We've got green room access in the back that looks over across the Cumberland River at the pedestrian bridge and the stadium. We've got a cool VIP lunch area on the second floor for lunchtime if you buy that ticket. It really worked out as far as all the unique, cool kind of add-ons and stuff we wanted to do logistically.
Yeah.
We looked at all the hotels in the city. We looked at museums. We looked everywhere. And this is going to give us basically everything that we wished and wanted for. So we're excited about it.
Yeah.
Really, very excited about it.
Is it key to get you got to think of it like a concert. You got to have a headline act, so to speak, and then the warm-up acts to be not as big, but fairly large.
Yep.
But along with that comes a price tag.
And we're working in some entertainment, like I said, just trying to be a little bit more unique.
Yeah.
One of the things for me personally, I've gone to tons of these conferences, and 9 hours straight of pure education and one speaker after the next.
Got to break it up.
It's monotonous.
Yeah.
And
I think Cardone's figured that out, especially with the surprises he gets at his. But he's at that level where he can attract a Snoop Dogg or a Donald Trump and
make a phone call. And,
yeah. But that's because he became the loudest person in the room. There's pros and cons to it.
I think you just got to find out what you want to do. And as long as you like looking in the mirror every day and feel good about it, who the hell cares?
That's the bottom line. So how can people find and follow you, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me, therealjimmorris.com, The Real Jim Morris on social media, impactsocialevents.com.
I'll put all those links in the description as well, so you can find and follow along. I think we have. Let me know. Keep me posted about the event as it comes up, and we'll make sure that we mention it on future episodes.
Cool.
And get the word out for you. So, thank you for coming out here and being a part of this, and we'll have to do it again for sure.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to hang with you. And
maybe we just need to have you on before, like a month before the event.
That'd be awesome.
Plug it again.
I'd appreciate that.
Talk about the journey and how things have played out and the challenges.
It's definitely a story I can tell you already.
Gosh.
And it's only been 2 months of saying, yeah, I'm going to do this. And it's been a journey.
I've always had the idea of have like a big event like that, almost like a WrestleMania, with all the big heavyweights in the business influencer sphere.
Just whoever contradicts each other, just
get them on the same stage,
face to face, looking at each other.
Sit them at a table, let them go at it. Dave Ramsey mixed in with Cardone and Ed Milet, and it'll never happen. But I guess if I say that, it won't happen. Maybe it will happen. Maybe we can do that.
Let's make it happen.
I'll totally make it happen. We can
make that happen.
We can get old Dave Ramsey up there to defend himself.
Yeah, defend himself. You're already picking sides.
Well, there's a lot of things that he said. Well, Jay Leno here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Check out what'syourproblempodcast.com. Follow, subscribe, share, give us a rating, 5-star rating. Let us, if you can't give us a 5-star, let us know how we can make it a 5-star rating for you, and we'll try and implement in the podcast. But before you give me a 4-star rating, hold off and let me know how I can make it a 5-star rating. So reach out, what'syourproblempodcast.com. Mr. Jim Morris, thanks again for coming out here, my friend.
Thank you.